Hello there, welcome to Talking Europe on France 24. I'm Catherine Nicholson. Now, just a few days ago, European Union heads of state and government agreed on a sixth package of sanctions on Russia in response to its invasion of Ukraine, now more than 100 days old. These sanctions had been strongly backed by Poland, and my guest today to discuss this and other issues is the Polish Undersecretary of State for Foreign Affairs, Pawel Jablonski, who joins us from Warsaw. Mr. Jablonski, thank you very much for being with us.
Hello, Catherine. Thank you for having me.
I'd like to start off, as I said, with that sixth sanctions package. It includes, crucially, a ban on all imports of Russian oil into the EU delivered by sea. Meanwhile, your country, Poland, along with Germany, have committed to ending your imports of fuel by pipelines, the land routes. Now, officials have said that this will cut more than 90% of Russia's oil income from the EU by the end of this year. What impact do you predict this will have on Vladimir Putin's regime and on the war?
Well, this is a great diplomatic success of Poland and other countries, of all like-minded countries. We have been building this coalition for weeks. After the war started, I remember early March, then the first proposal of the sort was tabled. And then it was very difficult to get support for it because of many circumstances that member states were raising, many difficulties that countries have been predicting. And from the very beginning, we have been pointing that out as well. There are difficulties, there will be difficulties, but these difficulties are caused not by sanctions, they are caused by war. And if we cut Putin off the money for oil that he's been getting for years, we can thwart his effort, we can thwart his industry, his war machine, because this is how he finances this war. So this step that was done on Monday by the European Council, by all the leaders, it is a step in a very good direction, because this can actually destroy Russian economy, this part of Russian economy that serves to finance the war.
It certainly is a large amount of oil exported from Russia into the EU. Poland, as I said, has made a commitment, a promise, not to use this exemption on pipeline deliveries. That's a big step for Poland. The European Commission, we understand, hasn't done a full impact assessment, though, of this. How will your economy sustain this?
We have done our assessments on our part, and we have also done this work preparatory to show that there was also a report of our National Economic Institute that was forwarded to all the channels to our partners to show that it is entirely possible for European economy, for all our economies, not only to survive, but actually to come out better if we decouple from Russian oil. Now we receive the news that OPEC Plus countries are about to decide of increase their outtake, their production of oil, which means that we will have the product from other sources. And this is also a result of a big diplomatic work that was done, that we are talking to partners in other regions. So obviously, nobody is saying that it goes without a cost at all. But the cost is caused by an uncertainty, by the danger that Russia is imposing. If we want to live in peace and stability again, we need to end this war, and sanctions are a way to do it.
Now, just looking at other EU states and their positions, one country in your region which is not going to use this pipeline exemption is Hungary. Now, this despite offers from EU institutions to delay the embargo for Hungary, other alleviating measures as well were on the table. Now, the Ukrainian President Zelensky told European leaders that every day the EU sends money to Russia for energy, this costs Ukrainian lives. Is Viktor Orban, the Hungarian Prime Minister, tacitly helping Vladimir Putin?
We are very clear about our position vis-a-vis Hungarian policy in this regard. Obviously, we have very good relations between Poland and Hungary. For many years, they have been one of our closest partners, but because of historical ties between our nations. But we're not silent about this. We are very critical of this policy. We're very critical of this approach, and we continue our diplomatic work to change it. Right now, we believe that Hungarian policy is detrimental to security of Europe, and we will continue our work to make everything that's at our disposal to change this flawed policy. This is a continuous process, and obviously this comes also to other countries that are also continuing their deals with Russia in gas market, for example, which is also very important to cut off. This is why we already started preparation on the 7th package of sanctions, and we believe that we should be cutting gas supplies as well and stop paying Putin on his terms for gas. We already stopped that. Several other countries did, but still around 20 countries in Europe are continuing these payments.
Certainly a big issue for the future. Let's look at another piece of news directly from Poland and concerning Poland from the last few days. As you know very well, and perhaps our viewers know, the European Commission has been withholding Poland's part of the COVID recovery fund money to do with concerns about rule of law in Poland. There has been movement on this week, and it looks like the money could be unblocked thanks to some political decisions in Warsaw. Mr. Jablonski, as you know, the Commission has 3 conditions for unlocking this recovery fund money. They want your government to dismantle a chamber that has the power to discipline judges. They want an overhaul of the disciplinary regime for judges and dismissed judges to be reinstated to their jobs. Does your government commit to doing all 3 of these things?
This is already happening. Our recovery plan has been accepted by the Commission. This was announced on Thursday by President von der Leyen in Warsaw. And so we are continuing this process. Obviously, this is a very contentious issue because, unfortunately, in Poland, the judiciary is not working very efficiently. And this is the mandate that we won our elections, several elections in the last 7 years, on the mandate to reform the judiciary. It's still very ineffective. It requires improvement, and we are continuing this. There were some mistakes made, and we are trying to do our best to improve it. So the disciplinary system, we believe, needs to be efficient, needs to be working in the interest of the effective system, because if judges are not, obviously there is the principle of impartiality, principle of independence, but we should never confuse independence with lack of accountability, and there has to be an effective system in place. And obviously this is a challenge to create such a system, but right now the law is being adopted in the parliament that we believe will address these issues, so we are optimistic about this.
I asked my question because some European commissioners have expressed some concern about the implementation of these promises by the Polish government. Does your government welcome monitoring from the European Commission about the implementation of these 3 conditions that I mentioned?
Well, we are very open to talk about this. We are very open to continue this dialogue in the spirit of compromise and mutual understanding, also having in mind that there are very strict limits of competences between national states and the European institutions. This is laid out in the treaties. I know this is also very important issues from the perspective of France, from the perspective of French constitutional order, where is the primacy of European law over the French constitution, as some claim, or is it the other way around? This is a debate that has been taking place in Europe for many years and is very vivid right now. But in the wake of the situation where we are today and existential threats to European security, we believe what is most important is to find conclusions, to find solutions, and not to increase conflicts and differences, internal conflicts in the European Union. What is most important now that EU is united and that we work together to protect our values. And these values today are protected in Ukraine. They are protected by all the countries that support Ukraine.
Another issue relating to rule of law, slightly different area, but where Poland is in conflict to a degree with the European Commission. The Commission has brought legal action concerning so-called LGBT-free zones declared by dozens of municipalities in Poland. Now, some of those municipalities have reversed that decision to declare these zones or these resolutions, and there have been courts, administrative courts in Poland that have overturned them as well. Does your government support these zones?
This is a giant misunderstanding. We need to start with that because, in fact, these resolutions that were made by several communities, we had some local governments that were adopting some resolutions without any legal effect, supporting LGBT community. Some other were issuing resolutions supporting traditional family marriage between man and woman, which is enshrined in the Polish constitution as a legal principle. And there was a debate about this. This is a legal dispute, and Polish government does not interfere in this. This is local government's issue. Obviously, very contentious, very hot debate at times.
If I may,
Poland,
it may be a local issue, but your government has national jurisdiction.
I want to ensure everyone that watches us, every person is protected in Poland in the same way. There is absolutely no discrimination. Constitution is very clear about this. Also for reasons for sexual orientation and identity, no discrimination at all whatsoever. If anyone feels discriminated, there is a legal recourse, and Polish government always supports that.
Okay, so so you would support these being overturned because, for example, the village of Niebliec in southeast Poland, near Rzeszów, excuse me, an administrative court overturned a resolution which was intended to, quote, stop LGBT ideology. A court ruled that there is no such thing as LGBT ideology, just as there's no heterosexual ideology. The Polish ombudsman has also challenged these resolutions as well. Do they have a place in your society?
As I said, these resolutions have no legal effect. These are not laws. These are not acts of law that interfere, that affect rights of citizens.
But do you support them?
If anyone feels that this resolution should be revoked, there is a legal recourse. As you said, some courts are issuing verdicts nullifying them. This is independent court decision. We do not interfere in this in any way. If court upholds it or nullifies it, this is up to the court to decide. That's the legal system that we have. And this is the natural thing that there are also some local governments that agree or disagree with this. This is the nature of democracy, that we debate about these things.
Pawel Jablonski, thank you very much for speaking to us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks to you for watching as well. Hope to see you soon on France 24.